Hello everybody and welcome back to A Dice Movie Reviews. Y'all, today we're going to be talking about 28 Years Later. Now, if you follow me on my regular channels, you'll know I kind of come over here and make movie reviews from time to time and whatnot. So what I'm going to try and do for the format of them, and let me know in the comment section if you like this format, is the beginning of it, I'm going to do the non-spoiler, very kind of generic, basically like, should you see this movie, that type thing. Then I'll give you a warning, and then after that, we'll just freely discuss the movie. Because a lot of you were responding to some of the other things that I did, and you're like, hey, I'd like you to do like a separate one to talk about the movie or whatever. And I would too, but I figure we'll combine them. So let's see how this goes. So this first part is going to be basically just an overview, spoiler-free, should you see it or not type situation. Now, I also like to tell people, I was born in 1977. So my context of horror films and all that, like to me, classic films that I grew up with are the original Friday the 13th, Halloween, Nightmare on Elm Street, Chainsaw Massacre, all those, right? So just keep that in mind. And I like all different types of horror films, and the zombie genre is one of my favorite. Okay, so that being said, 28 years later, 3 decades almost, right, since the rage virus has just absolutely devastated the United Kingdom, and that's where we basically are picking up with this movie. Now, here's the thing with this. We're returning to, the infected and all that. If you've followed the movies before, I would say initially this: you need to suspend what you think of the franchise a little bit over here, right? And just like with any movie coming out, whatnot, just know that there's elements you're gonna be familiar with and elements you're gonna be like, huh? Kind of a thing, right? One thing with this franchise, but especially this one, to me personally, what I thought it did is it definitely tries to get across a whole bunch of underlying like symbology, I don't know what you would call it, but like a deeper meaning and whatnot. Now, this is also like the end all, if you will. Like you're seeing, oh, here's where, wow, this is what this all led up to type situation. Now, as far as basics of movie production goes, and we're talking acting level, yes, it was great. Storyline, yeah, it had some parts to it. And if you're here, you've probably been looking up stuff, or you've seen it, or you reviewed it. There's some stuff that you're kind of like, huh? What, huh? Especially like the ending, for sure. We won't talk about it right now in the non-spoiler, but just know it's wow. Now, there's, yes, definitely fresh characters, fresh setting, that type stuff. This is way more, to me, a psychological horror zombie film than a in-your-face, day, Night of the Living Dead, like that type thing. And I think a lot of times zombie films have that component to them where there is a narrative about what is going on in society at the time, or in that general period, whatever. And I think that this movie definitely does that, right? So overall, this is my take on it. And now I'll say this: when I went to go see it, I was like, I haven't seen those movies, like, obviously in forever, right? It had been so long since I saw the originals that I had forgotten about them. Like, I literally was like, wait a minute. So I went back and started watching them over again because I was, in my memory, mixing them up with some. And I definitely was just like, oh yeah, this was a very interesting installment. My overall take is this: do you need to rush out to the theater to see this? No. This is something you can watch at home, okay? Now, if you're like a diehard, like, I want to see my horror films at the theater, well, then obviously so. But for me, I was like, yeah, this one it didn't really do it that much for me. To me, overall, it was trying to come up with too many societal narratives at one time for it to have like a major impact on me. It took me out of the story, if that makes sense. Now, I'll say this: am I glad I saw it? Absolutely, right? 100%. But I'm like that with most horror films, even if they're bad. Now, my ultimate like litmus test is, did it make me put my phone down? And yes, I am the type that will get up to go to the bathroom at the movie theater and just scroll on my phone. And no, it did not make me, or I'm sorry, I did not pick my phone up. It did not, my phone did not win out in this. So it's definitely interesting on that level. I was like, I don't want to miss like what's going to happen. And it definitely kept you on the edge of your seat in that way. So I would say this is appropriate if you're like, I'm gonna watch this at nighttime at home, but it's also a zombie film that you're gonna want to pay attention to, because you're gonna be thinking back over the themes and situations that you saw and being like, well, what is that speaking to, and what is that speaking to? That being said, what we're going to do now is we're going to dive a little bit deeper into the actual plot lines and stuff like that. So we are going to move into absolute, I'm going to decimate the plot line for you, these spoiler alerts, all that. So if you do not want to know anything deeper than that, quit watching right now, take my review for what it was, and then go do what you gotta do. But on the count of 1, 2, 3, we are now in spoiler section. So let's get into this slightly like hot mess of a film, okay? So here's the thing. We open up, okay, we have this, and again, this new characters and whatnot. So we see this kid, I think his name is Jimmy or whatever, and he's in this like horrifying family, whatever, getting slaughtered. They're putting the kids in this room, and he's like, what's going on? And like that scariness is very much translated to the film, with like these kids kind of crying as they hear these noises. And then all of a sudden, basically, you can imagine the zombies jump in. They don't show them ripping through the kids, but they break in this room. Well, he is the lone survivor. And then we fast forward, I don't know, like, 28 years later, obviously, right? So we see this time, and it's like the rage, that virus, it's been mostly contained to the UK. And so they live on this island. It's this community. It's, just like post-apocalyptic type vibes, which I enjoy films like that. And so the only way you can get to the mainland is through like this little strip of, I don't know, like some kind of, used to be a causeway or something like that. And at low tide, you can cross it. So they have like a window of time. Now there's one main family we're dealing with, okay? And so it's Jamie, who's the dad, who's 28 years later, right? The guy from the earlier. Then his wife, Isla, I'm not sure how to say her name. And then the 12-year-old son, Spike, who's going to basically be like the main character. Now, Isla is sick during this, okay? She's not well. That's going to be a big theme of the movie. Now, there is like this rite of passage type thing. And I don't know if it's just held for men or if women do it too, or what the vibe is. But in this, we're just seeing it through the lens of Spike. And so basically at a certain age, the person is taken over to the mainland, and it's like a hunting expedition, right? And I guess it's part of, I don't know, maybe they're just learning to go over there to hunt for stuff. Who knows, right? But his dad's taking him. He is taking him as a few years younger than he should be going, but the dad's like, no, it's all good, it's all good. So they get on this island, and they see like this. So one big point is they see this fire going, right? And it's a signal fire. These rumors of this doctor and all this kind of stuff over there. He's some reclusive figure. And we'll find out that he's been known for like burning these infected bodies and whatnot in this very ritualistic type way. However, we will hear from the dad who's like, we don't know what's up with him, and so that's, put that on the shelf and come back to it. Okay, so let's talk about the mother more. Throughout the film, her health worsens, okay? So you can kind of tell that there's probably something going on, like a terminal illness, but we don't know, because again, society has been decimated on this island. There's just, there's nobody else there. So you don't have doctors, you don't have any of that kind of stuff. They're rebuilding society on their terms, which we will later find out that it's like, yeah, well, the rest of the world's still acting normal, right? It's just here that they've done this hardcore quarantine. One big theme of this movie will be the son, Spike, will eventually take his mother and go to the mainland to get help for her, whatever she has going on, for this doctor when he learns about that, but we'll get more to that as well. Once they get over to this island, this part of it, right, they're gonna meet this military survivor. I think his name's Eric, and he basically got washed ashore. Their boat sunk or something like that, and he ends up over there, okay? And he teams up with Spike and his mother. We will learn through this military dude where it's like, okay, yeah, you know what, society's going on, man, I could be delivering packages, I don't know why I signed up for this, and blah, 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 blah. And he's kind of like the character that comes in that's going to act not heartless, but like he's still just very much of the normal world, and it's there to show us how little Spike knows about things. Like, he'll make common references that we would get, and he's like, Spike's like, I don't know. And so he's like, oh yeah, you wouldn't know that. You wouldn't know what a delivery is. You wouldn't know what this is. So it kind of shows us that. But then a huge event will take place. Okay, so for the whole zombie thing or whatever, right? They will run into a pregnant zombie. During this, they're like on a train or something like that. The mom, Isla, runs into this woman zombie having a baby. And they have this connection where they're like holding hands. You can tell it's like this, even though the mom has this stuff going on, which is presenting and also kind of like a mentally unwell level, her and this zombie mom, we'll call her, have this connection to get her through the trauma of childbirth. Well, she gives birth to a regular non-infected baby. Well, then almost immediately the zombie mom tries to kill Isla, right? And so Eric comes in and shoots her and kills her. And then he's like, give me the baby. Give me the baby. And the son and the mom are like, no, the baby's fine. He's like, give me the baby. Give me the baby. Okay, so then this main big zombie dude who's butt naked the whole time, okay, got just a big old sausage dangling everywhere for everyone to see. Okay, he jumps in and like rips his head off and his spine out. That's like his signature move, his wham bam thank you man move, is he rips your head off with your spine. He's been running around the whole time, whatever. Okay, so then you're like, oh my God. Well, then you can tell that's his baby. So he wants that baby, right? And you're just like, yeah. But it's like, well, do you give him the kid? You don't want to, because what if he eats it? Okay. So now remember the doctor that I talked about. Well, he will end up kind of saving them from this dude. And he has a tranquilizer and he's like, and the big zombie dude's like, okay. And so the doctor's like, come this way, come this way, come this way. And they put it together. It's like, oh my God, this is that doctor. And so they approach like his camp, if you will. Well, he's got like all these like temples made out of skulls and whatnot. Okay. And so then they figure out that it's like, oh, wait a second. This dude's like kind of in like a humane way, figuring out who these zombies were if he can. And then, you know, burning them and putting their skulls up and whatnot. So the son's like, I've come here to bring you my mother to help her. What's wrong with her? Well, of course, the doctor doesn't have any kind of, you know, tools and all that type of stuff. So he does all this stuff and he's basically like, I think you have brain cancer and I think it's pretty advanced. I mean, like, she's getting bloody noses. She's talking about God this and seeing people that aren't there. You know what I'm saying? Like, it's sad. So then it gives me goosebumps. So then they're basically like, the mom and son are having this hugging moment. And the son's upset and he's like, well, can't you save her? Can't you save her? So the doctor shoots the son with one of these morphine darts, right? And then I'm like, okay, well, maybe they're doing that to tranquilize him. Well, then the mom, it gives me goosebumps, y'all, I'm telling you. The mom is basically like, okay, yeah, I'm ready too. And he shoots her and I'm like, oh, what? We're doing a humane assisted unaliving here? Okay, you know, so I was like, oh, okay, let me get my mind turned around. This is where we're at. So then essentially, and I can't remember if it's the next morning, the next day, whatever, but the next thing you're seeing is the doctor presenting the son with his mother's skull. Okay, and he's like, go find a good place on the thing for it. And I'm kind of like, whoa, this is really, really heavy, okay? Really, really heavy. So he goes, he puts his mom's skull on like the very top facing the sun, okay? Or like, you know, just wherever like the sun rises and whatnot. Then there's this whole big like fight again with the big monster dude with the big schlong going everywhere. Okay, well, he comes back in and it's like, well, these other zombies come in too, right? So they're after, or he is at least this little baby. So essentially the doctor's like, okay, dude, you've got to take this kid and go, right? If this is your vibe, if you're wanting to save the baby and all this stuff, y'all got to go, okay? So Spike and the little baby, they start heading back home. And you're like, oh, cool, you know, he's going to go back home with the baby and blah. And if I remember correctly, he named the baby after his mother. Then all this stuff pops off, right? And basically what you're finding out is that he just dropped the baby off at the front gate of like to the little sequestered village they live in, and left a note. And the note's basically talking about like, I've gone away, I've done this, I'm going off on my own, so on and so forth. Here's this baby, her name's, you know, Isla. So the father can put two and two together because obviously the mom and him, the son, had been missing, right? So he runs off, okay? Now I'm getting ready to major spoiler alert the end here for you. So if you are kind of like, maybe I want to see this, don't go further than this. Okay, so basically we then see scenes of like the son, he's been hunting and he's like, you know, kind of becoming a man, like doing his thing, whatever. Well, then he gets cornered by some zombies and it's like, bro, you are, I don't know what to tell you, but this is it. Well, then out of the blue, this whole group of dudes with like blonde hair, gold jewelry, and like 90s tracksuits come out of nowhere and save him. And it's insinuated that he's like gonna go with them. And so I'm just like, okay, and that's where the movie ends. Now, a couple of other key components that I maybe skipped over or whatever, because I'm just kind of like going off the, you know, big things in my mind. The zombie part of it, right? So yes, there's zombie stuff, and you see when the father takes him originally over to the island, to the mainland or whatever you want to call it. Yeah, there's like some zombies that are like these big slugs, I guess, and they move around the ground, and he's teaching him to shoot and whatnot. You have those moments of that, and the movie is doing a decent job at showing you almost communities of zombies. So it's almost like you have those slug zombies, you have these like backwoods kind of, you know, whatever zombies that do different things, different worlds, different things. However, to me, it doesn't ever get too involved in each one, if that makes sense. Like all the things that I just noted here, like you can hear themes of like, you know, what is it called? Like a humane death. I don't know about the thing at the end. I read one review that talked about like it was a cult type thing with the people in the tracksuits and whatnot. So there's these very deeper things going on in this film, which is great and appreciated. However, for me, it had been so long since I saw 28 and 28 days, 28 weeks later, whatever, that I had forgotten a lot about it. And so I personally, at first, I was going in to see a different part 3 to a different like franchise, which was more like in your face zombies, you know, nonstop. You're not getting too deep. It's more about the adrenaline and the claustrophobicness that we associate with zombie stuff. Now this movie has that in it, but there's so many deeper elements in that it pulls you out. So on that level, I was like, oh, this is good. It's again almost like one of those movies where you could name it something different, right? And it doesn't need to be part of this. Granted, they pick remnants of that and run with that from the original, you know, couple of whatever, the first couple ones. But it almost could be a standalone movie, not called this. But so many movies do that these days. So that being said, now I've told you some of like the major plot points in this, but not all of them or whatever. Again, this is my take on it. This is something you watch at home, right? Don't waste your money going to the movie theater. It just wasn't, it wasn't what I was anticipating, but I went in, again, remember I was born in 77, so I'm thinking like Day of the Dead, Night of the Dead, like that kind of vibe. I was looking for a standard fare. I don't want to think too deep about it. I want to run off adrenaline. Like from the time the movie starts, we are running from zombies, right? And this just goes a little bit deeper, and that's not a bad thing, but it was my expectation was off. So anyways, if you saw it, let me know what you think down in the comment section below. If there's any movies that you want me to look over and review, drop those down in the comment section below. And until we gather around all this little horror stuff and these reviews, I'll see you soon.